Namaste and welcome to this exciting episode of our daily Sunday live session with Sattology, debunking mythology. So, Sat means truth, Logos means a study of science, Sattology means a science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means a science of fake lie imagination or study of fake lie imagination. So, the when we talk about Sattology versus mythology, it acts at multiple levels, multiple levels. Like, for example, I'll give you an example that in every sphere of life, what the colonial powers have done, like, for example, the British rule, the Dutch rule, the French rule, and multiple rules that we had from the colonialists on India and rest of the world. What we have seen is that multiple times the the methodology has been the same. Like, you come to that land for trade and then bring the your religious institution, like Abrahamic faiths have done. Like, for example, if I bring a religion or convert people to my faith, this is mostly done by Abrahamic faiths, all three, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Jews don't do it because they don't believe in that. That's why they are extinct. But the other faiths, uh, if you look at Islam and Christianity, what they've done is come to the land for trade, or uh, Christianity has done for trade, or loot the land and then convert everybody so that everyone thinks like them, and then they completely overrule it, like change the language. Like, if when you look at the Persian invasion of Bharat from Central Asian states, which were all before that they were all Persian states, Uzbekistan, these are all part of Persia. They came, included Farsi, change the language, change the culture, or force convert the culture. And so today we're going to talk about dharmic diplomacy, because how to protect against all these attacks, and it has to be done through dharmic. Believe me, Chanakya and Narad Muni, they have taught us to be stronger. And the weakness that we see today in decision making, or looking up to West for everything, including approval, like that is the colonial mindset, approval, and trying to build parity with everybody. Parity doesn't exist. I was talking in one of the shows, in one of the interviews, that how Vietnam is actually defends with their own weapons. You'll be shocked to see what I'm going to show you today. You'll be really shocked to see what I'm going to tell you today, because this is what Narada Muni telling, and this is from my book Narada, the Making of a Statesman. And what we are doing as Sattology is we are creating content which will bring you straight to the original authors. That's what my goal is in every single book I write. I've written 8 books, probably 9 books, and few of them will be translated into Hindi when they're launched in India. But this is what our goal is: Sattology, debunking mythology. Do join us and make your identity stronger, because the whole attack is against the identity and to wipe out all the native cultures of the world. What happened to natives in South Asia? You all know that what happened in Pakistan, Bangladesh, all the natives were wiped out by the foreign ideologies. Like, Islam has completely made Pakistan a slave country, and Afghanistan is a slave country. And look at what happened in Iran. All these countries whose identity was removed are poor. Look at Bangladesh also. Nowadays, Bangladesh is economically rising. It's not going to last very long, because it's going to go down, because it's a slave country. The countries which have grown are the people who retained their original culture. Look at Vietnam, Cambodia, look at Japan, look at India. India, most of the scientists who practice Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma, they are the ones responsible for the growth of India. Look at Israel. Israel follows their own culture. It's a strong country. And America, even though it is colonized by the churches, but still it's a strong country. So in today's show, you'll be shocked to see what I'm going to show you. And just give me a second where I'm going to share the slide. And it's 2 slides, but then I'm going to take you through the Google Maps about what you're going to see. Okay. And we will just give a second. Just give me a second while I bring the slide up. I hope you can see that right now on the screens. If you can see that, just send me a message. I'll know that you're seeing it. So, if you look at the dharmic diplomacy, because the diplomacy is all about securing the state. And in this show, Thus Spake Narada, we are going to bring viewpoints from all the ancient sages. See, Narada is not speaking by himself. Narada is speaking from all the past Vedic gurus, instructors, and teachers which have represented it. Yeah? And so he is not just saying it by himself, he is also quoting Veda. It's in Atharva Veda, Yajur Veda, Rig Veda, and also Sama Veda. Sama Veda is one of the most beautiful musical, you can say, it's a musical composition. You can sing it. So that's why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that his favorite is Sama Veda because it's very musical, very beautiful to hear. There are some recordings available on YouTube. Otherwise, you can yourself read it. So coming back to this dharmic diplomacy topic, the border management, extremely important, extremely important. And in the dharmic diplomacy, see, when you practice dharma, doesn't mean religion, doesn't mean dharma. Religion is a western concept of a book based theory, one book culture. It actually makes you less intelligent, dogmatic. That's why most of the western scientists, they reject their one book culture. If they have to go for science, they have to reject it because it's all entire dogmatic. And you will not see them quoting any other book other than Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita is not a dogmatic book, it's an experiential book, it's a book of science. Now, when we speak about this border management, the Narada tells Yudhishthir, do you install villages at the border with ex-servicemen to protect it? Now, also he says very important thing, that your armies must also always be ready for fighting at the border, or they should be always ready to attack, not defend. See, understand one thing, the philosophy of like we have never attacked anyone is not true as per dharma, because you have to, and if you want to secure your people and secure your land, then you have to according to dharma, you have to fight according to the rules of the opposite army in their land, not in your land. Otherwise your land keeps shrinking. And that is what is happening with India, because they are not following dharma is telling something else, and they are following something else because they are under the colonial propaganda. Still the slave in the west. So when I say west means the Christian countries. So when you talk about the dharma here, the dharma says that you need to set up borders in far lands, not in your actual state border, far lands. So the first line of defense of Aryavrat, not Bharat, Aryavrat, was in during the times of Mahabharat, were Gandhar Desh. Gandhar Desh was connected to Bharat through alliance, but not exactly. It was considered part of Bharat, but through alliances. So the India's like Bharat's borders during the Mahabharat time were near Turkey. That's where the defense started. That's where the fight started before they come to India. Same on the north side. It was where I've shown you. You must watch my presentation on Uttar Kuru. Last time I did that. That's where the Indian defense started. Bharat defense. That's why you see Hastinapur is in east between Rajasthan and Kerala. Is right in the middle. And and then if you go by uh, the the role of preachers or Sanatana Dharma Vachak or Brahman, their job is to preach about dharma in all the areas. Like for example, they need to go to uh, areas where the Indian armies, or during the ancient time all the Sainiks of India were there. They were there along with them, preaching to the local people, telling them about Brahman, telling them about Bhagwan, telling them about yoga, teaching them spiritual sciences from Veda. That's how you'll see the Parsi Desh, Parsik. Even during the time of Mahabharata, it was called Parsik. That's where the Greeks took the name. They were always busy in telling them about their culture. So entire Central Asia today, and entire West Asia today, on the east until Cambodia, that's what their purpose was. We have forgotten that, and that's why we are getting attacked from all sides. This is the duty of the Brahman. Patan patan yajan yajan yag, jnana yag, dharma kriya. So this is what the Brahmins are supposed to do. Tell others about the culture to bring good values. Good values means non-violence against animals, non-violence against women and children, non-violence against protecting the rights of the poorest class of people. That's what dharma stands for. Dharma is the largest protector of human rights. Nowadays, a lot of propaganda is there. Keep propaganda human rights. There's a lot of propaganda on human rights. Dharma is the largest protector of human rights. And if you go south, excuse me, if you go south, the same thing. If you look at Hastinapur to Kerala, is the same distance, equal to Hastinapur to Kyrgyzstan, Hastinapur to Kerala, around 2,000 kilometers on both sides. And I'm going to just cover the same topics with a map on the Google Earth also, right, in today's show. That's where the Indian diplomacy is wrong. And the third thing is spycraft. This is Narad saying that. Yeah, I'm not saying me, I'm saying that. Just imagine how current Narad, how those instructions are valid even today. It's not that it was written over there, spoken like we normally say, that is not modern, that was the past. No, it's same principles apply. Same principle. In fact, Narad Muni asks Yudhishthir that do you have enough weapons? Are you prepared enough weapons? Do you have all kinds of yantra? Yantra means the like a machine type of equipments to throw weapons. So all those technologies have to be used in house. Like the you cannot fight a war with foreign weapons for a long time. If you have to defend your land, you cannot fight. You have to have your own weapons. Look at USA, look at USSR, or so Russia. They all have their own weapons because they know them best. But somehow we are working on a colonial mindset. We want to overnight change our military to the standard of the Western world, but we do not want to develop our own. So I really support Atmanirbhar propaganda, Atmanirbhar policies right now going on. But we have to develop our own weapons to fight with other people. That's dharmic diplomacy. And usage of, we all talk about Sam Dam Bhed Dand. Actually, there are three more: Mantra, Aushadhi, Indrjal. There are seven upaya, means seven solutions to maintain a solid diplomacy. India has started using Aushadhi because they are now becoming the official world's house for removing medicinal issues. And also, Aushadhi can be used for wish also. So, using incentives to continuously buy the key officials of the enemy, this is going on since the Ramayana times, since Mahabharata times. It has not changed. It's a Vedic solution. Unless we look to our own past, we are not going to learn. Again, we are making the same mistake of getting colonized again and again. We are making the same mistake because we are not learning from our dharma. We are not following the original Indian thought process in the Indian diplomacy or dharmic diplomacy. I even want America to follow dharma because protecting cows is an important aspect of dharma. I even want that if any American is watching and people who are watching live, they I even want them to follow. I'm strictly against all slaughterhouses in North America. I want all of them to be because they are the ones creating maximum pollution, and the over-consumerism in USA is spoiling the entire planet Earth. Just 350 million people in USA consuming majority of the Earth's resources for their high standard of life, but which is a completely unreasonable to a large extent. So that's how the dharma says the wealth is not a socialistic concept. It is a duty of a raja, a good raja, to spread to the poorest section of people. So when we talk about Sanatan Dharma not only takes care of the rich people, but it also takes care of the poor people. It is a duty of somebody who is rich to help someone become better in their life. It was not a state forced propaganda. The dharma, if you install dharma in every human being, he is going to naturally take care of other people. So this is the on the border management. This is how you manage the borders. And I'll give you some examples that how most of the modern nations have made people who were colonized made the same mistake. First of all, they trusted the attackers. They could not understand why the attackers are coming. They trusted them. They did not defend themselves, so it encourages the attacker. And the attacker is going to attack you more because you're encouraging him. That is not dharma. Bhagavad Gita says, Shaurya tejo dhritir daksham yuddhe cha palayanam danam ishara bhavascha chatra karma svabhajam. Chatra karma svabhajam. So we are not following those seven principles in the Kshatriya. And if a Brahman doesn't create Kshatriya, or a teacher doesn't create the warriors, the teacher is not going to be protected. So we can, so both of them have to go hand in hand. That is a mistake we did not learn from dharma. We did not learn from our shastra, and that's why India becomes weaker and weaker day by day. It's not just about politics. Dharma is beyond politics. So we need to introduce dharma in the politics, not the make politics as dharma or politics on dharma. No, we have to correct our politics with dharma, and then we have to become fight. We have to bring peace, because my understanding is only dharma can bring peace in the world. It is the biggest protector of human rights. Now, in the next slide, some rules of diplomacy, which is very important also. What are the rules? Is number one, Sainya Shakti, your armed forces. They have to be empowered, or they have to be trained to foresee a threat and work on it outside the borders, not inside the borders. Once an enemy is inside the borders, it's all done. So far, our philosophy in India, especially because it's a Dharmic country or Hindu country, where the we are just on the borders, where we want others to first attack us, and then we're going to defend. Then there are more chances you're going to lose the territory. There are more chances. So in the dharma says that the armed forces must work at least 800 miles away from their actual state borders. 800 miles. That should be the periphery of Indian security. We have forgotten that. We are just waiting. हम लोग को हमने किसी पे आक्रमण नहीं किया है, हमारे इतिहास में लिखा है हमने किसी पे आक्रमण नहीं किया. We keep saying that. We are fooling ourselves, because that's not dharma says. Narad says, if you allow the enemy to work inside your borders, then you will not have a state to protect. वो ऐसा ही हुआ है. It has happened. India has been divided so many times, from Afghanistan to Burma were officially Aryavrat borders. Aryavrat, official. And then extension of Bharat influence was right in the entire Russia today, and to the Cambodia, and to the entire to the Madhya Pradesh. But we have forgotten everything. And we, our dharmic literatures, when we talk about dharma, we just make it puja part, or worshipping in the temple. That's not, that is one part of dharma. It's called Pancharatriki is one part, but not dharma as a principle of diplomacy. And second is economics within the Raja. There are many examples. Yeah, Ayodhya was one example. Darshat Maharaj rule was one example. It is said in Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana says that the Ayodhya means what cannot be conquered by a weapon. Any weapon. You cannot conquer it by weapons. That was the security of Dashrath. That's why Ayodhya was the richest city state in the world. And huge one, almost like 12 yojana long, 3 yojana wide. And if you take the yojana calculation as 8 miles, when you choose 8 miles, it's like 96 miles long and 24 miles wide. And then if you go to the east of that, even today, Thailand or Indonesia, many places till today, their culture respects Sri Ram. Their faith may have changed, but their culture is centered around Ram. Why? Because of the military strength of Ayodhya. Military strength. Same is in the case of Hastinapur. Hastinapur was respected in north of Uttar Kuru, knew, because Arjun went there to conquer all of them to bring money for the Rasuya Yagya. And throughout the reign of Yudhishthira Maharaj, they had to pay taxes. So almost like 50-60 years, they were paying taxes. And the same is the case of Madhya Pradesh and south of India, south of Hastinapur, everywhere. So this is the way the armed forces work and the economics work. Because economics, understand one thing, if the state is secure, diplomacy is secure, then economics will rule. Today, India is successful because it is, people have trust, the other businesses have trust that you cannot conquer it. Just look at the small state of Vietnam, very small state. And even the Vietnam is secure because they know the Chinese can attack. Chinese are scared of one country, Vietnam, which is much smaller than India. And they do not have any weapons, like they don't even have nuclear weapons like China has. But still, China doesn't want to do that, doesn't want to attack. Why? Because they know they'll be defeated. America could not defeat them. And so they are the ones who are victorious over there. So just by having modern weapons, you cannot fight any war. You have to have your strategy and tactics, and whatever weapons you have, if you use them effectively, there are chances. This is what Narad Muni says: fight with what you have, not what you could have. So the when I hear Indian armed forces talking about we need to acquire, we need to bring parity, you have to perfect your own weapons, not others. you know internal stability comes when your borders are protected. Today India always works in a defensive mode. There are terrorist attacks everywhere. Why? Because they are not following what dharma says. USA is if you look at the example of US, they fight a war 10,000 miles outside their boundaries. Even today, they may have exited Afghanistan, but they know that anytime they can go back to Afghanistan. Afghanistan also know that if there is a terrorist camp there, they're going to attack. This is how America is made secure. Like, and we are not even following what Narad Muni says, whatever our Dharma Shastra says. You know, so understand that dharma is a pillar of strength. Dharma doesn't make you weak. If you know a problem, and this is how the state can use dharma in their diplomacy, that becomes the original thought process in diplomacy. So far we are following all the Western authors and Western rules, and this is not the way it works. Even the Western rules are changing because they are losing sight of what is happening. Now, I'll just, after this, I'm going to show you the live what I said on the Google Earth. You can join us. You can join us on Telegram. You can attend our Sattology courses. These are 12 courses, 12 session courses we have. And then you can also participate with us in different forums that we organize. We have a YouTube channel. You're watching, some of you are watching it live right now. And you can also share these videos and join us on specific talks on Dharma and other places. Now, let me take you to another side of it. When we talk about the on the Google Earth, I'm going to say uh, on the Google Earth, I'm going to share with you. Uh, Hopefully, you can all see that right now. You can see this, and I'm going to go to India, and I'm going to exactly show you that how we are talking about the 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 what Narad says on a Google map. You know, 800 miles from Hastinapur. This is the Hastinapur. Okay, 800 miles. If you look at the if I take the pointer, uh, I have to still learn how to use it. So just give me a second. Give me a second. Okay, just I have to still learn how to use it. Anyway, if you see this map, now this is the 800-mile radius. Like if you calculate from here, and the if you look at here, this is the 800-mile radius. This approximately 800 mile means 1,000-kilometer radius. Now this should be the buffer zone around India from any part of the boundary. If you look at this, covers this is a buffer zone. Now this is where our armed forces need to have capability that nobody attacks over there, nobody can operate over there. This diplomacy what Narad Muni is talking about. And then if you look at the let me just take it closer. So all these lands which are part of India and these are all changed. Like if you look at the border from here, it's literally till here. But if you look at Mahabharat war era, this is all Persia before. Our warfare fighting skills were right till here, right till Syria, right till Syria. This is where the alliances were made. In here, the alliances were made north of it, because this is on north is Uttar Kuru. The Uttar Kuru boundaries are right here. If you look at the meridian, I do not know, I don't see the meridian here. Yes, 40 degrees north latitude, 40 degrees, you can see it here. This is where the boundaries were in the Mahabharata war. It is very clearly mentioned that the armies of Arjun, even Ramayana mentions it, crossed here. in the north here. So if you look at that, then you'll understand that this is how the security was done of India before. We have forgotten all those things. We are still relying on Western models, and also we have created shackles on our own hands and legs. That we are saying that we have never attacked anyone. That's why India is getting attacked constantly, constantly. Even today, because of the closeness we show towards the Western culture, and today, what is happening? All their academic institutions are continuously following the propaganda, gold, glory, and God. They are focused on conversions. They want to make us like them so that we think like them. And this is what is changing the Bharat, not allowing Bharat to rise. And we have seen that again and again. It's not just today. We have seen this happening in the past. In last 1,000 years, we have seen that everyone who has come from here, the Arabia, everyone has converted. A lot of all this land we have lost. All this land we have lost. This we have lost this, and we have lost Tibet. Tibet was a region of Yaksha and Rakshasa. We have lost this. How much more? We are going to lose. Our influence was definitely till in this area, till Vietnam. Our influence was here. It is still there, but we're not using it because we have created shackles on our own feet, and because we're not following dharma. So when you don't follow dharma, you become weak. So this is we have to change that. As a society, we have to change that. That's exactly what Narad Muni says. And in that book of mine, I have covered it in much more detail, which you can read it. If you have any questions on this, you can ask, and I'll be happy to share any answer on this. If you're some of you are watching live, and I'll be happy to share the answer. So one of the questions which has been asked to me on one of the shows is Bharat a Hindu Rashtra, or is a Hindu Rashtra? It's a majority of people are following Sanatana Dharma. So it is by default a Hindu Rashtra, but the government structures are not like that, because structures are focused on, again, the Western idea of secularism, which is in the West means separating church from the state. In Indian context, that position doesn't arise, because the church in India doesn't. Church in the West interfered so much, created so many wars. The entire America, USA, is an occupied territory. So in 1908, the US Constitution made themselves independent of the church, because they won't let any government survive. This is what is happening in South America also. So, thank you for watching today's show. I know some of you have questions, and you may have your questions. You can ask me in the comments of this video. Until that, keep watching our Sunday live show every day at 9:30 on Sunday, 9:30 p.m. on Sunday. Namaste and thank you.